Hello and welcome! Today we're going to be making my best-selling patches. And by that, I don't mean to say that they were on the New York Times bestsellers list. It's just that out of all the things that I make and try to sell, they are the ones that consistently sell the most. And it's a really easy process, so let's get started. Alright, next step, we're going to be drawing our designs onto the fabric. Two options here. First is using a gel pen, which is really good, and that's what I've been using for years. The only problem is that you have to wash your patches afterward to get rid of the drawing traces. And I personally find that really annoying to do. So I recently invested into a different type of pen, which is also like some sort of gel, but it disappears when exposed to high heat, and I find that really convenient. So when you finish your patches, you just iron them and boom, everything is done. The only problem with that little guy is that when you are drawing, it takes a while for like the ink to actually appear on the fabric, so it can be a little bit frustrating to draw, especially if you're not really confident. But you know, I still prefer this option personally. Here is a shot of me drawing on the patches. I flipped it so you can think that my hands are your hands and it's actually you drawing on the patches.
Way!
Is it fun? Let me know if you liked it in the comments. First I started by using the normal gel pen to show the difference with the heat dissolvable one, which I am using for this little bat. As you can see, the lines are much more faint and take a while to become fully apparent. For the sake of the video, I went back to the gel pen so you can actually see what I'm doing. I used to draw the design first before cutting the patches, but now I do it the other way around. It saves me drawing the line to separate the different designs. I always make sure to keep the back pockets as they are, because I can make them into patches that double up as an extra pocket. And who doesn't need an extra pocket? Now we're ready for the fun part. Embroidery is amazing because it's a craft that doesn't demand much gear. As long as you got your project, a needle and some thread, you're good to go. And once you get used to it, it doesn't demand much concentration. You can do it whilst watching TV, on a plane, on a train, on the bus, at the gym, in the park. And you get to feel like a lady in a period drama, which is pretty fun. There are lots of different types of stitches that you can do. I personally favor the stem stitch for my patches because it gives the crispiest line. It's also one of the easiest one. You just pop your needle through the fabric for the first stitch, skip the length of a stitch, come back to the first hole, and just repeat. I started doing embroidery about 5 years ago after falling in love with the work of Tessa Perler, who does really beautiful flowery embroideries. And when I saw her work, I was really excited to start. And I couldn't start at that point because I had broken both my arms, which is still going to be a story for another time. But then I got like everything that I needed, like the floss and like the needles and the hoops. And when my arms were finally better, I started. And then I found out that I was actually really not enjoying the process, which was a big disappointment. Because the embroidery floss that everybody uses is made of like 6 strands of thread that are wrapped together. But when you start doing the embroidery, like they unravel and they get tangled, so you constantly have to stop and start again, and it's really frustrating. So I kind of thought about stopping doing embroidery until one day, completely randomly, I used the thread that I got from the charity shop, and that didn't happen. So I was like, oh my god, there are some threads that you can use that will stay stuck to themselves. And I did a bit of research and I found out that this type of thread is called perlé, And I've been using only that, and it's just been great because, it's just make the whole process much easier. So yeah, I get mine from this brand called DMC, which everybody uses as well. It seems like it's not a horrible company. They have lots of different colors, and the colors don't fade over time, which is quite important. And it's also quite easy to get them secondhand from like eBay or charity shops. And I also really like the look of the front because it's a little bit more round, like a rope, and it just it gives a nice relief to your design. Yeah, so that's that. One thing that people always ask me when I do markets is what's my inspiration, and that always kind of baffles me because to me those patches are not really inspired. If you ask me what's my inspiration for the artworks that I make for my husband, I could talk about that for hours because there's always a big story behind them. But the patches, they kind of happened organically. How to say that word? Organically. The first design that I drew was this little cat that's cut in 3 pieces. That was gonna be a design for a tattoo because I wanted to be a tattoo artist for a bit. And yeah, and then I just really liked the really simplistic lines that reminded me of drawing on paint when I was a teenager. And I kept doing little cats, and then I found out that you can literally put pointy ears on anything, and that turns into a little cat hybrid. So I've got some of my design the cat cow, the snake cat, the octopusy.
Good evening.
And yeah, that just became my thing, which made people believe that I'm obsessed with cats, which is not true. I do love cats a lot, but I'm not obsessed with cats. They just do them out of convenience because I'm not really good at drawing. That's the truth. I like to finish my patches with a rough, chaotic stitching on the edges. It was sunny the other day, so I decided to go to the park to finish my patches. But when I got there, I realized that I forgot my needle sheep, which is a cute little sheep on which I keep all my pins and needles. I was really annoyed because I went to this specific park because that's where I wanted to be. But if I went back home to get my needles, I would have had to go to another park because I just can't stand going back to some place I've already been. To the point that if I'm on a bus and the stop closest to where I'm going is a little further than the place where I'm going to go, I have to get off at the stop before, even if it takes me longer to walk, just to avoid going back on myself. Which is ridiculous, but I just can't help myself. You see, for the last step of the sewing, I usually prepare all the patches with pins like such, so I can just get all the sewing done. But that day, because I didn't have my pins, I just had to make do with what I had, and I rummaged through my bag, and I found 3 pins, because there's always pins in my bag. It was a little bit more frustrating and more time consuming than what I usually do, but that was the price of not going back home for more pins. And it just worked fine in the end. Finally, I just had to wash the patches that needed to, and iron the one that didn't. You can use those patches to decorate your trousers, shorts, skirts, hat of various nature, battle jackets, or sell them at craft markets, like I do. So thank you very much for watching, I hope you had fun, and see you next time! Bye!